Welcome to Sportex, where we talk about all things around the ever evolving business of sport and the people that make things happen in this vibrant industry. I'm Gerard Davids, founder of TalkX TV, where we host Sportex as a content channel. Also, welcome to our Women's Month series focusing on the role and the contribution made by women in this sector. I'm joined by Shaune Baaitjies, acting CEO of South African Hockey Association. And let's start off by describing to us what is it that you do in the sport business industry. Welcome, Shaune.
Thank you so much. I'm not sure if you want the long version or the short version. Let's start with the short version. I'm currently an administrator at the SA Hockey office. The role I currently hold is interim CEO, which I've been in for just over 2 years. The long
Yeah.
version is I've been in sports administration for many years. Yeah, I was a very young girl when I started some sports administration, be it in the role of a minute secretary. I mean, way back then, we used to still have minute secretaries, not just your secretary generals. And then I went on to do some league administration for the little league we ran. I became an umpire, umpired at provincial level. I played at provincial level. I then volunteered for provincial duties on the administration side. Was involved in the unification mergers of different units. So I come from the East Rand, and the two women bodies first merged, and then later the women and the men merged. I became one of the secretaries there again, volunteered for a role as a LOC at a country districts tournament. Later then was co-opted onto the SA Executive Board, Hockey Executive Board, for about the first year, and then got elected in the portfolio of transformation and development. And that's when I got also at the same line, I got involved with team management. Went to a Junior World Cup as chef de mission early 2000s. The next round, which was about 2004, I was the team manager for the junior team, junior ladies team. The following year, I was promoted to the senior ladies team, and I joined them for Commonwealth Games in Melbourne, and then went to the World Cup in Spain, Madrid, and a year later went to the 2008 Beijing Olympics. Took a short break from hockey after that, and then I don't know what happened in my previous life, but clearly it called me back. Was part of a committee that was able to secure an Astro for our local province through the lotto, successfully so. That Astro still exists today in Ekurhuleni. I've had different types of roles in sport other than in hockey. I was the finance administrator for Ekurhuleni Sports Confederation for a stint, almost 4 years, and got involved in multi-coded administration. Fast track, another stint at managing both junior and senior teams, late 2017-18, and like all of us, we were affected by one way or another. That didn't stop us. We became presidents of a president of Eastern Hockey Association, and so after illness, decided to hop off from the financial services sector and start my own business as a leadership coach and mentor. And you won't believe me, a month later, I get approached just to assist SA Hockey in my current role. So yes, that's the longer version.
I guess every role that you fulfilled up till now is a chapter in the book that's forthcoming.
Yes, from your ears, from your mouth to
Yes,
someone's ears.
yes, great. So having that packed CV presented to us today. So, yes, we live in a society where we have to talk about the glass ceiling, which I believe is a self imposed notion. But so, what are your views around how more women could be upskilled to enter the sports business industry, whether it is as an executive, like a CEO, or just an administrator? What are your views?
So we have to accept the fact that a lot of sports are still administered by the male sector. There's no way we can't get around it. What I do find is in a lot of spaces, people are legislating the involvement or the inclusion of women. If I use SASCOC, for example, they are a 50-50 board right now, but it didn't happen until, I would assume, until it was legislated. Likewise, other sporting codes, some sporting codes are looking at the same concept where it's legislated in order to ensure adherence. It's not easy because even in business, the top levels are normally held by men. To get into business is difficult. And I mean, I've been there, I've been in the financial services for over 36 years. The highest level I reached was senior manager. Um, yes, you might have quite a big responsibility. I mean, my department was 186 people big. So it wasn't a small portfolio, but was I an exec? No, I wasn't. Were the execs? Yes, but a handful. And likewise in sport, you still have, I know people tend to think that there isn't a ceiling. There is a ceiling. Unfortunately, there is one. But to break in, I think my view is, equip yourself with all the skills that you need to be able to do the job, because it senses putting somebody in a position for the sake of it. One needs to be equipped to deal with the requirements of that job. So that for me is the only way you're going to break that barrier. In fact, one of the ways. Secondly, you need somebody that will back you. um, 9 out of 10 times it's going to have to be a man, because they are in the position of influence. So you need to probably get yourself a mentor that is a male, a mentor or a coach. As a leadership coach, I will always advise people to go out and get a coach that will help you plot and plan your next steps. So that if, let's say, I want to be the CEO of whichever organization, I need to have a plan. And it's no different in sports. If you want to be in a certain position, get your plan in place. Make sure you're skilled adequately. Make sure you understand that role. And don't just do it because it looks good. Um,
Yeah.
it's hard work there.
Yeah, no, great. And I like the way you put it that change happens, and opportunities are created for women to serve in sport because it's being legislated. Now, in other sectors of business, we tend to have the industry saying no legislation will self regulate. And perhaps that's also a consideration for broader sports federations to say will self regulate as opposed to it being legislated, because currently we have a EPG in South Africa which deals with the transformation in sport. Your views?
So yes, with EPG, as much as we self-regulate, it is still difficult. So if you look at the content of being in on a board, the the conditions, the way it's structured, the terms of reference, the operation, all lends itself to somebody that is male, that has a lot of time on their hands, that doesn't have the normal responsibilities that women traditionally have. And that skewing of it then allows for us to go down the old road. It's easier for us to take a man. It's more convenient for us to take a man. If we want a 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock meeting on a Tuesday evening, it's fine, because most men, and I'm generalizing, please excuse me, it doesn't apply to everybody and to all families, but most men are available at that time of the evening, whereas women traditionally either cooking, seeing to kids, running errands. So they're not available. And in order for them to then become available, they have to basically sacrifice, and sometimes those
Yeah.
sacrifices are so severe that it breaks down relationships, it breaks down institution, the family institution. So until we broad-minded enough to accommodate those things, one
Mm,
does have a problem in getting more
mm,
women involved.
mm.
um,
Yeah.
I'm a
Mm,
firm believer that a woman must not trade who she is, inherently is, to accommodate what is required, but rather that the atmosphere or the environment must lend itself to accommodate both differences, because we are different and we'll always be different. So we can't even pretend that we have the same characteristics of a man.
yeah. And that is the cruel reality. And sometimes people shy away from talking about it. So now, looking back at your career path, what advice would you give to someone entering your sector, despite the challenges they would be facing?
So I would want to say be prepared for hard work, but never forget to work smart. Because sometimes people think, oh, they must put in the hours. But you know what? Sometimes it's just worth it stepping away from the window, from the big wall, and seeing and looking for alternates as to how the same thing can be done smarter. I want to say learn as much as you can, as quickly as you can, and don't be afraid to get involved in volunteering, as it's probably the only way the sector will be maintained and we will survive. Because in sport, there isn't money in sport, and as such, we can't pay every sports administrator that comes along. So be prepared to put up your hand and to put in time without any remuneration. So volunteerism is something that is a dying institution, but it's something that I think one needs to try and revive at all costs, because we're going to be nowhere if we only rely on paying volunteers in this sector. It's going to be dead soon.
Now, did you have mentors? And how do you view the importance of mentors in someone's career?
Yes, I did, and incidentally, the majority of them were men. I only had one female mentor; the rest of them were men, and I think for me as an individual, the amount of learnings I gathered from my engagements with them stood me in good stead both in both sectors of my life. But because I was involved with both those sectors simultaneously, I was able to use them interchangeably. So the business skill from business side I could use in managing, planning an event, planning my role and responsibility in my managerial role for SA Hockey's teams, and vice versa. The people dynamics in the sports sector, because boy, there's different people there more than in normal business. I use those skills that I learned and I transferred it across. I think it's as a leadership coach and mentor myself, I understand the value of mentorship. I also understand the value of coaching, and I must say that there are two different, specifically different concepts. A lot of people merge them into each other, but they're not. Mentor relationships are so special, and because you as a mentee dictates the pace, it makes it your journey, and it allows you to grow as much as you want to. Unfortunately, it also then has a converse effect where you grow as little as you want to, because the mentor will not push you. You need to be self-driven. So for me, it's very important, and it's one of my biggest thoughts on skills transfer,
That's great.
because that is true experience that people have now shared with the mentee, which in coaching you might not necessarily get it to that extent.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and like with volunteerism, it would also be a good idea for sports bodies and federations to have a deliberate mentorship program. You know, that brings in people from the outside and to become mentees for that matter. So, just
Yes.
lastly, Sean, what are the biggest trends that you're seeing within your code happening? You know, we have now AI, virtual reality, augmented reality, and sports tech. What's happening in your side of the sports world?
So, that for as much as that's an automation of certain things, one still needs a person to automate. So with the move of more women to excel in sport, I think it stands as it's definitely something we must look at, must understand how it can be to an advantage for us. I think also the fact that athletes in general are more vocal of what they want right now, and it's forcing us as sports federations to listen. You can't listen to all the voices at the same time. However, with your new technology, with your AI advancements, one can set up things so that those voices, that information can be harnessed so that one can use it in planning. I know that safeguarding in the country has become a bigger and bigger focus for sports, especially, and there too, a lot of portals, databases needs to be set up so that we can gather the information, and those learnings will help us understand how better to service the industry from a safeguarding perspective. We speak about fundraising. I mean, you no more have people with raffle lists going to friends and family. You now have the different crowdfunding initiatives online. So
Yeah.
that is still technology that has facilitated some of these things. Not that I'm a supporter of us standing with cap in hand online, but that's one of the only ways that some individual people can afford sports.
No, no, great for
So
that insight. Yeah.
for SA Hockey, we launched an app last year where our members now register online, and the benefits is two or threefold. One, the person is in charge of their changes. So if they move from 10 Iris Street to 44 Gladiola Street, they can go and change it when they're ready. Two, you know exactly in which province, in which club the person is playing, and also technology has facilitated the easier collection of fees. So we are embracing it in that sense. On that app, you have some gamification facilities. So still embracing the new technology age.
No, that's
Thank you.
great. Good to hear that SA Hockey is also going and following or say with the trends as it is. That was Acting CEO, South African Hockey Association. Thank you for your time and insights, which is very much appreciated. That is where we would leave it for now. Thank you for watching What I Do in Sport on the SportX channel, which is hosted on TalkX TV. Until next time.